Hello, fellow Megatenists. The 10s are wrapping up. 2010s? The 10s. And because that's happening, I wanted to look at the top 10s. Top 10 Megatens, that is. So as the decade has brought us many Megaten titles, over 30 in fact, here's a complete list of all the games released, and I'll probably earmark the ones that I haven't experienced at all because they're not in English at all. That out of the way, I kind of wanted to discuss my top 10 favorite Megaten releases of this decade. Some ground rules here. I will include re-releases, but I will not include fan translations for games that were released prior. But all the fan translations in English from this decade are included in the description. Try to play them, because they're all quite good. So, number 10, Persona 4 Dancing All Night. I've always been a huge fan of rhythm games. My childhood is rife with DDR, Taiko Master, and DJ Max. P4 Dan seemed like a beautiful combination of music behind Persona 4 and the rhythm game design behind the PSP iteration of Hatsune Miku Project Diva games, which were great. What made this stand out compared to P3 and P5's rhythm games was that it had a story, which felt like a precursor to what we would see in Tokyo Mirage Sessions. More screen time with Rise, a character I quite like from Persona 4, and honestly, Nanako dancing to the Junes theme is very much the most wholesome thing, which is nice to see before she became Nana Fiend. I'm pretty excited for Persona 6, seeing as the director behind this, Arena and Ultimax, Kazuhisa Wada, is directing that, and I think he'll do just fine. Number 9, Persona 5. Wow, this is pretty low on the list, but try not to crucify me. Boy, this game is style incarnate. I wouldn't say it's all style and no substance like someone who took 5 hours to explain it would, which I gotta say, if it takes you 5 hours to explain why you think a game is not as good, then I gotta say you should work on concision. But then again, I call this the Megaten Minute, which, to answer why it's longer than a minute, that's because the Megaten is a multiverse, and so each minute is in a different universe. Digression aside, this game does what the previous Hoshino titles haven't done for me, which is make pretty humanistic social links. Characters like Iwai, Tora, and Tei made for great narrative. This also has the most polished gameplay of any of the Persona games, in my opinion, and that's great. Unfortunately, I haven't played Royale yet, so I don't have anything to say about that. Number 8, Shin Megami Tensei Synchronicity Prologue. Yeah, you should be surprised that this ranks so low, but here's why. So I love Strange Journey, and I love Metroidvania games. And I love that this is a spiritual Jack Bros 3. Yeah, that's a Jack Bros 2. It's a mobile game that's never been released in the West. This game adds a teeny bit of story to the Strange Journey mythos. It messes with the amazing SJ OST and offers some new takes on those amazing tracks. The game lets you play as a person body swapped with Jack Frost and another body swapped with Pyrojack, and you adventure and fight against the epic Black Frost. I love the gameplay, and it ranks low basically because it doesn't have an official translation. It also only takes about 5 hours or less to beat, and because Jack Ripper is not in it. The game is easy enough for anyone who, has never played any of the games to play without having to play Strange Journey to enjoy it, and those are all pretty great. I do appreciate the fan translation, but come on guys, let's do Synchronicity Prologue 2. Number 7, Soul Hackers. I love the Devil Summoner games. This one has it all. It references every Devil Summoner game. It has a goth girl, it's got good gameplay, an interesting story, and one of the most underrated OSTs. If my job is to sell you on this game, just look at Nemessa. Number 6, Devil Survivor Overclocked. I love Devil Survivor Overclocked. I've seen mixed opinions on this, but I think almost every member of the cast is great. I kinda like Yasuda's wacky anime art style, and the time restraint and day mechanics are fun, and the SRPG style is fun. It even has a huge amount of references via the auction house. These people are all Megaten people. Wow, who knew? Yes, I also like Atsuro for being a real bro. He's actually the top tier bro. I might even do a list of the top Megaten bros. And Yuzu to me is very relatable. I think she's got a good representation of what a normal reaction would be. And my only real criticism is that Holy Dance is super broken. Number 5. Persona 2 Eternal Punishment PSP Edition. Hey, do you love Persona and do you want an older cast who are probably aged 19 to 30 that you can relate to better? Well, play Catherine because this one isn't in English. The Persona 2 duology is bizarre because the second half of the two games came out first, and the first half came out about 10 years later. This results in one of the games being vastly updated because it was re-released for the PSP, while the other is the PS1 version. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the PSP version. This game is great, and this remaster does only improve it. Updated portraits by Masayuki Doi, a cat-filled scenario, ramping up the H.P. Lovecraft vibes and making the game faster and stronger. At a glance, the game also features one of the best casts of any Atlus title. An ensemble built off tropes, but unlike other games, they're expanded to be relatable and believable. People who you could, feel for and you want to succeed. Not many games in Atlus's repertoire left me feeling like this. But despite all this, I would have to rate this kind of low just because it's not in English. I guess you just gotta play the PS1 version. Number 4, Tokyo Mirage Sessions. This is a contentious title. Some people erroneously expected this to be something like Project X Zone, but good. But instead, we got Digital Strange Saga Persona, which is, in my opinion, better. This goes back to an old argument of what makes Megaten a Megaten, and to me, it's both the spirit that exists in the game and the gameplay and concepts and how they're implemented. That's how I can, say that Catherine and Mach X is also spiritually Megaten. But my real compass is what Atlus Japan says in the Megaten Maniacs book, which was included in the 20th anniversary edition of Deep Strange Journey Redux, which, doesn't include Tokyo Mirage Sessions, but whatever. That being said, this game features some gameplay elements from all the greats I mentioned. Digital Devil Saga, Strange Journey, and Persona. I'm not a fan of J-pop, my best experience with such being Perfect Blue, but the music here is well made and even better. It's made by industry professionals and the quality speaks for itself. I can appreciate the effort even though I don't personally like the songs is what I'm trying to say. The gameplay, as I said, is top notch. Except how long sessions are, but they fixed that in this new re-release that's coming out. And as a buddy once said to me, Sneeze Detective Maho is best girl, even though I don't actually endorse or support waifu culture despite previous videos that might indicate otherwise. Number 3, Shin Megami Tensei D2 Liberation, whatever else it's called. This is weirdly high, you might be thinking to yourself, not knowing me at all, but this game is very fun to me. While the story is nothing to sniff at, and the music is hit or miss, and the art is pretty hit or miss, and the translation is pretty hit or miss, but the PvP, the Kiwamis, the Democalypse, and the Origate are all really, really fun things for me. Yes, the sum of its failures against the fun that I have doing the things I mentioned are easy. It's an easy balance, I'd say. I'm a sucker for the PvP. Nothing better than thrashing a person who built a carefully crafted team just to experience the takedown of a century by my expert team of lawbirds. D2 also gets a pass because Atlus didn't even make it, and it's still good. Number 2, Shin Megami Tensei 4. I like to think that this is the best mainline game to come in the decade. That's saying a bit because Strange Journey Redux also exists, and Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse also exists, but if you know me, you know how I feel about Redux. The game itself has it all. A great story, an amazing world that's well built with NPCs that feel alive, a great OST, and the gameplay is rad. My friend, Simply Dad, already talked about this game quite a bit. Go watch this video if you're interested in knowing more, but there's also spoilers there, so I'm going to summarize my thoughts. Although I initially hated Shin Megami Tensei 4 for its lack of Chronicle art and the changes to the way the story is handled, as all old people tend to hate new things, I actually really grew to appreciate it, though I've always loved the music. Now for number 1, Catherine / Catherine Full Body. Forgive me for saying that my favorite Megaten game of the decade isn't really Megaten, but unless you're lax like I am with the definition of Megaten, then, you have nothing to complain about. I can start by saying I'm very terrible at puzzles, especially ones where I have to think fast. Unlike Megaten games like Shin Megami Tensei 4 or Nocturne or Strange Journey, where understanding the basic concepts drastically decrease the difficulty, there's nothing I can do to make my small brain understand the puzzles going on in this game. But if you stomach the other entries in this list, you'll see why I value this game in particular above all else. It's got great music, amazing characterization, astounding game design, and gameplay mechanics that are fun, even though I suck at the game. It's designed so well that I can see past that. It's got an amazing day event setup that we see in Persona 3 through 5, but it's shortened down to a week, not unlike Devil Survivor 1. The music is so fitting and catching and well made. The characters all feel like real people, and they elicit genuine feelings and opinions about their actions. This cast does a good job of feeling believable because they're not perfect, but they're not flawed in a very one-dimensional way like you see with Persona 3, 4, and 5 people. This cast reminds me of the cast in Eternal Punishment, in that they are my age and I can relate to them. Not in the sense that I or my friends are douchebags, but in the sense that they just feel real. They even offer a type of ending for each Megatenist. A wish fulfillment ending, a thirsty man's wish fulfillment ending, the new one with Rin in it, and the best possible ending that is too good for Vincent. And that's my list. Obviously, I'm garnering a reputation as the person who knows a lot about Alice, but has terrible opinions. And I hope that continues. I want that trend to continue. I hope you enjoyed this lighthearted sort of video, because for me, it's a welcome reprieve from my long nights of researching and whatnot. Alright, without further ado, goodbye, fellow Megatenists.